She had survived war, hunger, and a broken heart. But nothing prepared Christy for the night the most dangerous man in Seoul looked at her daughter and forgot how to breathe. The Kang estate didn't feel like a home, it felt like a warning. Christy noticed it the first morning, the way the marble floors reflected nothing warm, the way the staff moved like shadows, eyes down, voices swallowed. 14 bedrooms, security cameras in every hallway, a gate that locked from the outside. She had taken the job because she had no choice. At 29, Christy was the kind of woman who made people uncomfortable, not because she was loud, but because she was too dignified for the space they tried to put her in. She carried herself like someone who had survived things that would have buried others, because she had. Her daughter Zara was 2 years old, barely tall enough to reach a door handle, but already watching everything with eyes that were ancient and soft at the same time. Christy kept her in the small staff quarters at the East Wing, where Mrs. Yoon, the retired housekeeper, minded her during long shifts. Across the estate, in a room that smelled of cedar and cold metal, Kangpae sat alone. At 36, Park Kangpae controlled every illegal port in Incheon, 3 entertainment districts in Seoul, and the loyalty of 200 men who would die before they questioned him. He was not cruel for pleasure. He was precise. He removed problems the way surgeons remove tumors, cleanly, without sentiment. His fiancée, Maid, arrived every Friday, and every Friday, the temperature in the estate dropped 2 degrees. Christy felt it that first week, but said nothing. She had Zara to think about. She always had Zara to think about. Friday arrived like a blade. Maid walked through the estate in ivory silk, her heels clicking a rhythm that made staff straighten instinctively. She was beautiful, the way expensive weapons are beautiful, designed entirely to cause damage. The pre-engagement dinner was Maid's production, 40 guests, senators, business partners, men who owed Kangpae things they couldn't say in daylight. Christy and 3 other staff had been working since dawn, polishing, arranging, disappearing into the background the way the job required. By 9 o'clock, the estate glittered. By 9:15, everything collapsed. Maid's voice cut through the dining room like a gunshot. "Where is my jade bracelet?" Silence swallowed the room whole. Her eyes swept the staff and landed on Christy with the deliberate precision of someone who had already decided. "You." Her finger rose slowly. "The maid. The new one." Christy's hands stilled on the tray she was holding. "I didn't touch your bracelet. My vanity. This morning. You were the only one in that room." Maid's voice dropped to something more dangerous than a shout. Calm. Certain. Final. "You stole from me." Kangpae appeared in the doorway. His presence alone shifted the air pressure in the room. "Kangpae." Mirai turned to him, composed. "Get her out, tonight. With the police, if necessary." Christy didn't move, didn't flinch, but her jaw tightened. Kangpae looked at her, really looked, for the first time since she'd arrived. Something crossed his face that wasn't anger. It was closer to recognition. "Search the premises first," he said quietly. Maid's composure cracked. Just slightly. "Kangpae, I said search it." The room exhaled, but security swept every room. Christy stood in the hallway, alone, the tray still in her hands, 20 pairs of eyes pretending not to watch her. She thought about Zara asleep down the East Wing. She thought about the 3 months of rent she hadn't paid before this job saved her. She pressed her lips together and breathed. Kangpae stood near the window, arms crossed, watching the search with the expression of a man solving an equation. Maid remained beside him, her hand resting on his arm like a claim. "She needs to go regardless," Maid said softly. "You can feel it, can't you? She doesn't belong here." Kangpae said nothing. That silence was its own kind of verdict. 15 minutes passed, then 20. The head of security returned, shook his head slightly. Nothing found. Maid's expression didn't change, but something behind her eyes shifted. She opened her mouth. Then it happened. Small footsteps, unsteady, urgent. Everyone turned. Zara appeared at the hallway entrance in yellow pajamas, with a duck on the front, her stuffed rabbit dangling from one fist, dark curls wild from sleep. She blinked in the chandelier light, confused and luminous, and completely unaware she had just walked into the most dangerous room of her short life. Her eyes found Christy immediately. Then she pointed, not at a person, at the decorative ceramic bowl on the hallway console, the one filled with white stones and winter branches arranged for the dinner. Sitting half buried beneath the branches, catching the light like a secret that had run out of hiding places, a jade bracelet. Zara looked up at her mother with absolute confidence. Mama, pretty. Nobody 40 guests, 6 staff members, 2 security personnel, all frozen. Kangpae moved first. He walked to the console table slowly, reached into the bowl, and lifted the bracelet between 2 fingers. He held it under the chandelier light. The jade caught it. Green fire, unmistakable. Murray's face didn't crumble. It simply recalculated. It must have fallen. Someone moved it during setup. The display was arranged at 4 o'clock, one of the catering staff said from the doorway. Her voice was small but perfectly steady. Miss Christy was in the West Wing all afternoon. I was with her. The room shifted. Not loudly, just shifted. Kangpae set the bracelet down on the table gently, the way you set down something you now understand the full weight of. He turned to Murray. She met his eyes. Whatever passed between them in that silence was longer and louder than anything spoken aloud. Then he turned to Christy. Mrs. Christy. The formality in his voice was deliberate. A restoration. I owe you an apology. What happened tonight should not have happened in my home. Christy nodded once. Her throat was too tight for more. Kangpae crouched down then, this feared, immovable man in his tailored black suit, and brought himself to Zara's eye level. Zara stared at him, unintimidated, and held up her rabbit. Bomi, she announced seriously, as though this resolved everything. Something moved across Kangpae's face. Fast. Gone before anyone could name it. Bomi, he repeated quietly. Strong name. He stood, looked at Christy once more, something unreadable burning behind controlled eyes. Get some rest, he said. You're not going anywhere. Murray's car left before midnight. No announcement. No goodbye. Just taillights swallowed by the gate. The staff noticed. Nobody said anything. Over the following week, Kangpae changed. In small, almost invisible ways that only Christy noticed because she noticed everything. He began walking through the east corridor in the mornings. Slowly. Without destination. She told herself it was coincidence. Then one morning he stopped. Zara was in the garden, crouched over a snail, with the intensity of a scientist making a breakthrough discovery. Christy was nearby, folding outdoor linens. Kangpae stood at the garden entrance for a moment, then walked in. He sat on the stone wall without ceremony. Zara looked at him. He looked at Zara. A serious mutual evaluation. How old? He asked. 2, Christy said. Almost 3. He nodded slowly. His jaw tightened the way it does when someone is not saying the real thing. That evening, Mrs. Yoon found Christy in the kitchen and lowered her voice. You should know something about him. Christy waited. 3 years ago, he had a daughter. Mrs. Yoon's hands folded carefully in her lap. Her name was Ariam. She died at 2 years old. A car accident. His fiancée before Mireille was driving. The kitchen felt very small suddenly. He hasn't spoken her name since, Mrs. Yoon whispered. Not once. Not to anyone. Christy looked toward the window. Outside, through the glass, she could see Kangpae still sitting on the garden wall, motionless, watching the empty space where Zara had been playing. Like a man visiting a grave. Like a man afraid to want something again. February arrived quietly. Zara, with the absolute authority of a 2-year-old, decided Kangpae belonged to her. She called him Kang. She saved him pieces of fruit from her plate. She once fell asleep against his arm at the kitchen table while he was reviewing documents, and he sat completely still for 40 minutes rather than move her. Christy watched all of this happen and told herself 12 different rational things. None of them worked. One evening, Kangpae found her alone in the kitchen after Zara was asleep. You're not afraid of me, he said. Not a question. Should I be? He considered this. Most people are. I've been more afraid of hunger, Christy said simply. Of my daughter crying and me having nothing to give her. Men with power. I've learned they're mostly afraid of something too. A long silence. What are you afraid of? He asked. She looked at him steadily. Letting someone matter, she said quietly. And losing them. The space between them contracted. He didn't move closer. He didn't have to. I looked into your file, he said. Your daughter's father. Left, Christy said. Before she was born. I cried for 2 days. Then I decided she'd never feel it as a loss. She doesn't. Kangpae's voice was rough. You can see it in her. She has everything she needs. Because of you. Christy turned away before he could see her eyes. You should sleep, she said. So should you, he replied. Neither of them moved for another full minute. Mishira came back, not with clothes, with information. She arrived on a Thursday unannounced, walked past security with the ease of someone who had studied exactly how far her access still reached, and she went directly to Kangpae's study. Christy didn't hear the conversation, but she heard the aftermath. Kangpae found her that evening, and his face was the face she remembered from the first week. Closed, cold, carved from something impenetrable. "You need to leave the estate," he said. Christy went very still. "Mira found records," he continued. "Your previous employer, a Kwan family in Busan. There was a theft reported. A necklace. I was cleared," Christy said immediately. "The investigation. I know what the investigation found." His voice was flat. "But this information is now in the hands of people who will use it regardless of truth. If you stay here, it becomes a liability. For you. For Zara. So you're sending me away to protect yourself." Something cracked in his expression. "I'm sending you away to protect her." Christy stepped close. Closer than she'd ever dared. "Don't use my daughter as your excuse to run," she said, her voice shaking with something that wasn't fear. "You were going to feel something and you got scared. Just say that." Silence detonated between them. His eyes, for just a second, broke completely open, then closed again. "Be packed by morning," he said, and walked away. Christy packed slowly. Zara slept. Christy folded small clothes, tucked the rabbit in first, and sat on the edge of the bed in the dark for a long time. She thought about leaving. She was good at leaving. She'd had enough practice. You learn to make it clean, fast, no looking back. But then Zara shifted in sleep and murmured, "Kang," soft as breath, and Christy pressed her hand over her mouth. No, not this time. She found Kangpae at 2 in the morning on the rooftop, the one place in the estate without cameras. He was standing at the railing, still dressed, staring at Seoul's skyline, like it owed him something. She stopped 6 feet away. "The Kwan family's daughter confessed," she said. "2 weeks after I was let go, she had taken the necklace herself. It's documented. You have people who can verify that in one phone call." He didn't turn around. "I know," he said. Her breath caught. "Then why?" "Because Murray was right about one thing." His voice was barely above the wind. "You don't belong here, Christy. Not in a staff uniform. Not in a place with bars on the gate and men outside who carry guns." He finally turned. "You deserve something that doesn't put you in danger just by proximity." "What if I choose the danger?" The city glittered between them. "What if," she continued, stepping forward, "I'm not afraid of your world. I'm only afraid of a world where Zara never sees what it looks like when a man stays." Kangpae's eyes broke open. All the way this time. No closing them. He didn't send her away. What followed wasn't a fairy tale. It was slower and more honest than that. Built from Tuesday morning breakfasts and difficult conversations, and the particular courage of 2 people who had both been broken before and knew exactly what it cost. Kangpae began dismantling things, quietly, methodically, the way he did everything. Port contracts transferred, associates reassigned. An attorney who had worked with him for 11 years later told a journalist, "He just decided to stop one day. I've never seen anything like it." Zara noticed none of this. She only noticed that Kang was at breakfast now, that he read her stories badly, mispronouncing half the words, and that she corrected him every time with great seriousness, and that he let her. 6 months later, in the garden where everything had quietly begun, Kangpae told Christy he loved her. He said it the way he did everything, without performance, without decoration, just truth, offered plainly, like something he'd carried too long and finally set down. Christy looked at him for a long moment. "I know," she said. Then, "I love you too. I've been waiting for you to catch up." He laughed. A real one, the kind that surprised even him. At their small private ceremony the following spring, Zara wore a white dress and carried Bobomi the rabbit as her contribution to the proceedings. Halfway through the vows, she tugged Kangpae's sleeve. Kang, deeply serious. "You cry?" He crouched down, this former mafia boss with a city's worth of fear attached to his name. "A little," he admitted. She patted his cheek with one small hand. The same gesture, the same grace her mother had always carried. "Is okay," Zara said. "Bobomi cried too sometimes." In the front row, Mrs. Yoon wept freely. And somewhere in the story's quiet center, a jade bracelet, a ceramic bowl, a toddler in yellow pajamas who simply pointed at the truth. Everything that was supposed to destroy them had become, instead, the very thing that found them. Zara changed 2 lives without knowing it. Have you ever had someone small, a child, a stranger, say something that shifted everything for you? Tell me in the comments. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to believe love still finds people who deserve it. Nobody relaxed.